Oh, what was I doing? I was sending my thoughts to you. You just experienced an atheist prayer. Let's talk. Come on in. Hey, folks, it's God's Comic Brad Stine, and let me ask you, have you ever watched the incredible limbo-like flexibility necessary when secular people try to integrate their worldview into general human interaction and make it sound spiritual? What am I talking about? Well, in America, because it was founded on the Judeo-Christian moral ethic, we as a nation had a community response when something tragic happened that we had no control over. We would say to the afflicted, we're praying for you. Right? Now, notice we didn't say we understood why the tragedy took place. We weren't diminishing its impact or the evil it was, only that we would pray that God would grant some kind of peace, courage, and fortitude in the midst of the suffering. We're acknowledging our powerlessness to life, and though we can't remove your pain from you, we want you to know that we're seeking solace for you and reaching out to the only one that has a cure for evil and pain. Now, wouldn't you think that that would be somewhat innocuous behavior that even the most diehard atheist could respect? I mean, I get it. They don't believe in God, so it seems pointless. But maybe the least they can do is allow those of us God believers to indulge our little backwards belief system and the only means possible for humans to respond to the unthinkable by believing in the end there is eternal justice and healing available for anyone that asks. Well, for quite some time now in America, the secular humanists who hate religion and religious people have demanded their desire for mutual respect by mutually disrespecting those they disagree with. I'm not going to spend time giving examples of the hypocrisy of the left in regards to their censorship and malice towards the West's Judeo-Christian traditions and morals because, number one, the examples are so numerous as to become redundant, but most importantly, as those of you who are fans of my show have come to realize and appreciate. One of the unique elements of my show that sets it apart, I pray, is this. If I don't have an answer as to how to expose, combat, and most importantly, fight back against those who would happily steal my dignity, eliminate my right to practicing my faith in public, and would gladly enslave me by demanding I succumb to their submit or be canceled culture, then I'm not interested in wasting an episode. I once taught you as fans of my show that it's important to always analyze secular ideologies because what you'll always find is the necessity of the secular to always steal from the sacred in order to give the illusion of validity to their worldview. Thus, what we've seen in recent years is the mocking of those who declare they'll pray for victims of violence, for example, as irrelevant to the matter at hand. Since God doesn't exist in their world, then to pray is to give the illusion of seeking assistance and clarity, as well as letting this oftentimes stranger know they are not alone and our sympathy and faith is coming alongside you in your grief. These atheists then declare that the answer to gun violence, for example, it's not prayer, but gun confiscation, gun banning. Their motto is, we don't have a God to appeal to, so we need to take matter into our own hands and fix the problem of evil by removing anything and everything that a human might use to cause harm to another. In other words, we will be God. It's only when the few enlightened atheists get control of the government, the police, the laws, and the autonomy of less enlightened citizens can we put an end to senseless violence by violently overthrowing anyone that gets in our way. But atheists and secular humanists are usually pretty smart people. They're not wise, mind you, but they're smart. They realize that by not saying anything to the victims of evil, they look uncaring and unsympathetic, and thus the secular version of prayer was born. You'll now see from news organizations, leftist political candidates, and atheists that when confronted with an act of evil, they're now responding on social media with this phrase, "My thoughts are with you." Now, prayers, mind you, thoughts. So let's make something abundantly clear. If there's no God, and thus prayers to the Creator are meaningless, then there couldn't possibly be a more worthless, irrelevant behavior than simply thinking about the victim. Listen, unless you're a clairvoyant and can somehow mystically project your thoughts into the brain of another, they not only don't know that they're being thought about, it literally does no good whatsoever. At least the theist has the faith that there's a benevolent being that hears us and interacts in our lives. To think of someone does nothing to benefit them, even if they could hear you thinking of them. There's no healing in that sentiment. Thinking about someone is no different than thinking about George Washington. You can, but you haven't accomplished anything. Now, what the atheist might say is, well, if someone knows someone is thinking of them, it may give them comfort to know they're not alone. But notice, that's exactly what the theist believes in praying for someone. But prayer actually has been proven scientifically to help people. Whether it's because God's intervening or it's a placebo that makes the person believe they're getting help, and it energizes the body to promote self-healing, still has a beneficial attribute that have been scientifically verified. Not to mention, since God designed bodies to be able to self-heal, even without prayer, it's always the God element that has proven to work best, as attested to by billions of people over eons of history. There are myriads of stories of people believing they were healed by prayer or experienced a miracle. There are no examples, on the other hand, of someone waking up from a coma or had an unexplainable cancer remission and attribute it to the fact that Richard Dawkins was thinking about them and their plight. My lesson today is simple, but it's important. Always watch the behavior and actions of the atheist and secular humanists in regards to human pain and suffering. They will always have to mimic or counterfeit a religious tradition or behavior and expect the same results. They always behave and act as though life has intrinsic, transcendent worth and value, even though their belief system can't account for any. And actually, they believe the opposite. They'll tell you, like Nietzsche concluded, there's no ultimate meaning to life. And then they'll spend the rest of their life having to behave as though life was meaningful, simply because the reality of what nihilism gives society is too grim and too hollow to bear. Listen, if the only way to endure your worldview is to borrow attributes of a diametrically opposed view to make yours livable, perhaps it's time to face reality. Your worldview needs to be abandoned. There, one more atheist prayer to tell you. Please go to Stine Has Issues YouTube and subscribe and like and share. Do it quickly! Otherwise, I'll stop praying and thinking about you.